In tonight's headlines, the Immigration Department busts a food delivery racket employing workers illegally. A citywide survey revealed that nearly 60% of the respondents were satisfied with taxi services in Hong Kong. And CLP Power left red-faced after another voltage dip as the electricity supplier concludes the investigation for a similar incident last month.
8 illegal workers and 3 local residents who provide food delivery man accounts were arrested, the Immigration Department said. 5 Bangladeshis and 3 Indians aged 20 to 45 were apprehended for illegal employment during a 3-day crackdown in a joint operation by the Immigration and the Labour Department. 2 women and 1 man, aged 19 to 45, were also arrested for allegedly selling or leasing food delivery platform accounts to illegal workers. They were also accused of aiding and abetting illicit workers to engage in food delivery services, as well as conspiracy to defraud the relevant food delivery platforms. Investigations revealed that the trio had been renting the registered deliveryman accounts for around $3,000 per month, with some being rented for up to 9 months. In addition, some illegal workers were suspected of using electric bikes for deliveries, violating traffic regulations. The case will be referred to the relevant authorities for further investigation.
Nearly 60% of respondents were satisfied with the overall taxi service in the city, an industry survey showed. According to the survey commissioned by the Hong Kong Taxi Council, which was conducted between April and May, 55% of the surveyed taxi passengers found the overall taxi service quality in Hong Kong good or excellent, and the overall satisfaction score averaged nearly 60 points. The evaluation includes service quality, professional attitude, and other factors. The lowest scoring items included difficulty in hailing taxis on the street, taxi drivers not actively offering assistance, and lack of courtesy towards passengers. In the second quarter of this year, the Transport Department received more than 580 complaint cases regarding cab services. Ryan Wong, president of the Hong Kong Taxi Council, pointed out that only a small proportion are problematic drivers.
其實收到超過1200名嘅優質的士嘅一啲嘅提名。
Wong said that, according to the online taxi service commendation scheme held by the Transport Department, more than 1,200 high-quality taxi drivers were nominated. As compared to the number of complaints, proportionally speaking, a great number of citizens approve of the city's cab service, with only a small proportion of drivers damaging the industry. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News. A day after revealing the investigation report of the Wong Tai Sin power outage incident last month, CLP Power, the electricity provider for Kowloon, confirmed that a voltage dip was recorded at an 11,000-volt power supply system in Sham Shui Po on Tuesday night. Residents in Sham Shui Po and Shek Kip Mei were affected by the voltage dip at around 11 p.m. last night, with some experienced dimming or flickering of their lights, and certain equipments might have tripped their proactive circuits and shut off. The power supplier apologized for the inconvenience and will launch an investigation to determine the cause of the incident. This happened shortly after CLP released its report on last month's power incident in Wong Tai Sin, in which residents suffered from a midnight major power shutdown for 4 hours. After nearly 1 month of investigation, CLP revealed that the reason for the Wong Tai Sin power shutdown was that 2 underground cables had been intervened by foreign objects. However, Hong Kong Institution of Engineers spokesperson Edward Low expressed a different opinion.
如果你係受外物嘅呢個干擾咧，其實係可以揾到啲證據嘅。
Taking to the airwaves this morning, Low said the appearance of the cables suggested that they were not broken by foreign objects, and he suspected the cables might have been affected by nearby excavation works. He also pointed out that workers should use their hands instead of machines to dig out the cables to avoid damage, and the contractors should follow the rules when operating. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News. The government emphasized it will work closely with mainland authorities to make sure that the elderly care home operators selected to be included in a scheme covering care home spots for the elderly in Guangdong province would be up to par. Under the current residential care services scheme in Guangdong, Hong Kong-operated elderly institutions in the Greater Bay Area could become service providers for the city's senior residents. The government is studying to include facilities solely operated by mainland businesses to house Hong Kongers at the end of this year. Some lawmakers expressed concern about how to regulate such service providers. Labour and Welfare Secretary Chris Sun pointed out that even though Hong Kong is unable to supervise operations in the Greater Bay Area, the government can select institutions based on criteria in the mainland. For instance, these institutions need to be graded 4-star or above and must have been operating for more than 2 years to be qualified and be trusted by the elderlies, he added. Sun also noted that since the eligibility criteria for participating institutions in the scheme was relaxed last July, the Social Welfare Department has received 7 applications so far. 2 applications were approved and already included in the scheme. 1 application was rejected, and the remaining 4 are still under review. As for the scheme itself, 170 local seniors have partaken as of March, and the budget allocated for the current fiscal year is around $32.5 million. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Marking the 75th anniversary of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, better known as NATO, US President Joe Biden welcomed leaders of the 32-nation-strong military alliance to Washington.
Today, NATO is more powerful than ever. 32 nations strong. Remember, NATO's character is fundamentally democratic. Always has been and always must continue to be. My friends, it's good that we're stronger than ever, because this moment in history calls for our collective strength.
Announcing more defense aid to Ukraine in its war against Russia, Biden has promised additional tactical air defense systems, which will help Kyiv protect its troops on the front line and Ukrainian cities against relentless Russian missile attacks.
Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine continues, and we know Putin won't stop at Ukraine. But make no mistake, Ukraine can and will stop Putin. Make no mistake, Russia is failing in this war. Russia will not prevail. Ukraine will prevail.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is also in Washington and is due to meet Biden later tomorrow. Sachin Kadpi, Cable News.
Consumer inflation in the mainland continued to cool down to its lowest level since March, pointing to the risk of deflation amid sluggish consumer demand, while producer prices fell for the 21st straight month. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Consumer Price Index, or CPI, grew by 0.2% year-on-year in June, compared to an increase of 0.3% in the prior 2 months, falling short of market estimates of 0.4%. Food prices slipped for the 12th month despite a steep acceleration in pork prices during the Dragon Boat Festival. Meanwhile, non-food inflation held stable, with prices rising further for clothing, housing, health and education. The core consumer prices, deducting food and energy costs, increased 0.6% year-on-year, the same as in May. Separately, Producer Price Index, or PPI, slipped by 0.8% last month, falling for the 21st consecutive month, having also dropped by 1.4% in May.